Hey there, welcome back to Drummer Daily. My goodness, it has been a long time, and I don't have a good excuse. Well, there's always excuses, but that's not the point. Excuses never are the right way to go about dealing with things. It doesn't matter why, I just haven't been doing these podcasts as frequently as I should. So I'm recording one today, and I'm getting back into the swing of things again. I think I had my eye on episode 150 for so long that when I finally got to it, my brain kind of took a break and was like, let's take a nap before we do another 150. Maybe that's what it was. But I appreciate you sticking with me and being patient while I was working on getting new episodes up. So today, to kind of get back into things, there are kind of three fairly unrelated topics that I wanted to jump in and just remind you of. I have one thing that I want to ask you to do, one thing that I want to encourage you to do, and then one thing that I just want you to think about. So the first thing is what I want to ask you to do. And the thing that I want to ask you to do is this. First off, I always forget to mention this early on. This is episode number 153, I believe, if my number tracking is correct. We're at 153 now. But I want to ask you to leave a review of this podcast on iTunes. If you haven't already, an honest rating and review. So click how many stars I think you can give it, what you think of it, and then write a little short 1 or 2 sentence review. That would be very helpful to me. Above and beyond that, if you are just now getting into the podcast or just now discovering it for the first time, I found out recently that iTunes, when it's figuring out where to put podcasts on the charts, the top charts, one of the things they look at is how much time you spend listening to the podcast. So if you feel like it, binge listen to this podcast. Go back to the very beginning, back to episode number 1, and then just listen through as many of these episodes as you want. Just start at the beginning and listen through. Apparently, binge listening to these podcasts really is a big factor in ranking this podcast higher. And I want as many drummers as possible to be impacted by this podcast, and so it would do me a lot of good if you would do that. And I definitely, no matter what you do, I'm just thankful that you're listening and you're joining me, and that many of you have joined me since day one of this podcast. About a year ago now, I think is when I started doing this podcast. So I'm definitely thankful for you, no matter how long you've been with me. So that's what I have to ask you to do. What I want to encourage you to do is this. Many of you might know that I have a program called Boom Click Bootcamp that helps you become drastically better at getting drumming with a click track, and it does it in about 2 weeks. Well, part of that, before I even ask you need to buy anything, I do some free training, and I've completely revamped the free training that comes in at the beginning part of this. So if you go to boomclick.net, you can sign up and get, it's like 45 minutes of training that I've previously kind of split it up into 4 videos, but this time I decided to redo it all. For now, I've updated some of the content, but I decided to put it all together in one mega training bundle. So it's 45 minutes of training that walks you through every step of what Boom Click Bootcamp is built on. But the cool thing about it is that if you are not ready to jump into Boom Click Bootcamp, you can watch the free training, and you can basically have everything that you need to create your own plan for free on your own, to basically do your own version of Boom Click Bootcamp. And a little pro secret that I don't tell anyone when they sign up, but I'm telling you here on the podcast because I feel like we're kind of like friends now that we're hanging out on the podcast together. The secret is this. If you sign up for that training and you watch the training, at the end of the video, I do mention how you can kind of create a little chart that will help you kind of outline your own 14-day plan. But what's really cool is a day after you watch that video, the next day, I actually send you an email that includes a cheat sheet that actually has the chart ready to go. All you have to do is just fill in the blanks. So I'm trying to make it as easy as possible, whether you choose to do the boot camp or do something on your own. I'm trying to make sure that you just do something either way. So go to boomclick.net and you can check that out. And then the last thing is this. This is number 3 on the list. I recently became aware of a quote, and it actually is attributed to Albert Einstein. And apparently this is a pretty popular quote, but maybe I just had my head in the sand for my whole life and didn't realize this was a quote that exists, because I think it's so valuable, especially if you're trying to become a professional drummer, or you want to just get more work, or you're trying to get into a band as a drummer, anything like that. I feel like this is an excellent quote to live by. And the quote is this: try not to become a man of success, rather become a man of value. And I think for us, I know that for many of us as drummers, or even as musicians or aspiring professional musicians or whatever it is, and it may not even be in drums, but whatever it is, we have this aspiration, this desire for success. We want to achieve success, and whatever that looks like for us. And we've talked before in this podcast about defining success for yourself and deciding ahead of time what that's going to look like for you. But whatever that success is, whatever you think of when you think of what a successful drummer is, or successful musician, or whatever success you're looking for, whatever you're thinking of that, we strive so hard at achieving a thing that we don't. It just seems like it's an impossible task to achieve. And something that I love this quote because it puts into words so eloquently and succinctly what I try to teach and everything that I do to drummers who are trying to become professionals and get paying gigs. And that is the idea of you need to identify what other people value in a drummer and then become that. So if you're just completely blinded by a hunt for success or striving for success, you can shift your focus and go for, how can I make my drumming more valuable to others? What do I need to do? Maybe it is getting better at a click track, or maybe it's, just working on not playing so many fills, or maybe it's how my volume level, I play too loudly, or I don't play aggressively enough, or whatever it is. Observe your drumming from the outside looking in and ask yourself, what do others value in a drummer or in drummers, and how can I become more like that? And this is not about compromising your beliefs about art or musicianship. This is about becoming a drummer of value. And if you want to become a professional, you have to become a valuable asset to the musical situation that you're going to find yourself in, whether that's a recording session or a live touring thing or gigs around town or whatever it is. You have to establish your own value as a drummer in order to get those gigs. So maybe switch what you're doing and pursue becoming a drummer of value rather than just saying, I got to have the success, I got to get the gig. Start shaping what you do based on what others are looking for. And maybe you'll see some success that way. All right, I really appreciate you joining me today. Like I said, we're going to try to stick to it a little bit better and be more. I'm going to be more diligent about getting these podcasts out as many days as I possibly can. So thank you for joining me, and we'll talk again really soon. Bye for now.